Oh, well, hello there, you beautifully unique human. Fancy meeting you here. Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and welcome to my channel. Over the winter, I left the chirping boys you hear in the background in the care of my mother, and my amazing second cousin Megan and I left our homes and went cross-country and back in a family bedroom sleeping berth over 7 days on board Amtrak's California Zephyr, Coast Starlight and Empire Builder, starting and ending in Chicago. We had a great time, had all sorts of cool adventures, met some wonderful people, changed time zones 4 times, went through a total of 14 states, went underneath the Continental Divide in the 6.2 mile long Moffat Tunnel. Thoroughly enjoyed a great variety of delicious food and unique cocktails. Saw beautiful landscapes as well as a lot of animals like elk, mule deer, and even bald eagles. And we saw an absolute ton of snow. We were told at least 12 foot deep in places. What follows is a condensed version of our week-long bucket list style train journey. Thanks for stopping by and enjoy. Hi, welcome to Denver, Colorado. It's beautiful here. It's 34 degrees, sun, no wind. It's gorgeous, especially for Denver in the middle of February or end of February. So Megan and I are in the tunnel district. There's 27 tunnels in all, although we're told not to bother counting them because the numbers are incorrect on them and such. And we just passed the Gross Dam and Reservoir. Megan got a picture. I didn't spot it until it was too late, but we just had to poke air holes in our bags of potato chips because they were so swollen from the altitude they were about to explode, and cheese and dust would have gone everywhere. They were as full could be. So anyway, just checking in to fill you in on the tunnel district. We're going through another one now, maybe. We're about to go through Moffat Tunnel, which takes us underneath the Continental Divide. It takes approximately 10 minutes to go through Moffat Tunnel. And when we get to the other side, we'll be just outside Winter Park, Colorado. We've been advised to stay in our cars and not change cars to avoid letting diesel fumes into the cars and choking us all for the rest of the trip. But Moffat Tunnel, under the Continental Divide, just a few minutes. Checking in, Megan, Liz. Welcome to Winter Park, Colorado. Apparently this is the ice box of the world. One of the coldest temperatures set in the country was set here. So we're just outside of the Continental Divide. No cell service, but it's beautiful. It's hard to see with the sun in my eyes, but I did try to get some of the snow-capped mountains from the Continental Divide. But it's beautiful, and we're just taking a break from having lunch to come outside, stretch our legs, and get some fresh air. So we were slowing down, and we've stopped now. And the conductors and engineers or someone is now moving a rock off the tracks. And they joked that they were young and spry and we shouldn't be stopped here too long. But we are literally stopped on like the side of a mountain. And there's apparently some kind of rock or boulder or who knows what on the tracks. So adventure on the rails, a day in the life. They couldn't move the rock, so we're gonna back up and go on something called a siding. I'll try and get a picture of the rock. So apparently there was a rock slide, and we're going on a special slide track to the left of the original track. So we're all waiting to get a look at this rock that blocked the way. So there's the slide fence that they said warned them that there had been a slide.
Do you see the boulder?
Oh, there it is.
Did you get a picture of it?
So here's my idea. I think to get to know each other's moods better, we should each tell the other a mood and have the other do an expression they would make in that mood. So that we're never like, are you mad? And like, you're not mad. Bored, crazy. Yeah, that's about like mine too. Yeah. Okay, do annoyed AF. Yeah, I could have read that. Yeah. Do, damn, that boy's fine. What's another one? Do, over the moon ecstatic.
Show me when a customer annoys the crap out of you.
Ma'am, is there anything else? Is there anything else I can do for you, ma'am?
Do pissed off.
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. Okay.
Show me you're excited.
Oh my god, oh my god.
You look like you're about to shit your pants.
Oh god. So this is where we get on the train. And there's the shower. And the restrooms. And there's the other door depending on what side the platform is on. And here's where we keep our luggage. And here's a water fountain. And the stairs that go upstairs and around. And then these on either side are roomettes. And here at the tail end is me and Megan's room. Say hi. So this one here pulls out and Megan sleeps there. And then that one there pulls down, and that's where I slept last night. And we pulled this one down. It's meant for kids. And Megan kept her suitcase up there last night. So during the day, I mostly sit right here and look out that window. And the GoPro goes back and forth between windows. And Megan mostly sits there and looks out that window. And here's our power cord. We only have one power outlet. And there's our door. And we do have a full-length mirror on it. So that was handy dandy for the makeup this morning. And that's our room tour. So Megan says I should show you the tiny toilet. And this is it. A rail to hang on to. A changing table should you have need. Paper towels, tissues. What's the word? Words, Elizabeth. A rack for your towel. And here's the sink and hand soap. And you have to press and hold one or the other. So washing my face has been the Olympics. Washing my face, brushing my teeth, and getting cleaned up on the train. So I'll show you the shower. Okay, this bag here is for dirty linens. They've got a cleaner, they've got bars of soap, a rod for your towel, spare towels down here, bath towels. We have hand towels and washcloths in our closet. There's a mirror. And then here is the shower, and it's got a detachable head so you can get as comfy as you'd like.
I need you right now, no, the air right now. Where you at right now?
I lose it when it comes to you, and there's nothing I can do. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. 난 네가 필요해 right now. 너 기다리고 있잖아. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do.
Yeah, 새벽 2시 I've been thinking about you all the time. Racing through my mind, speeding like the Autobahn. I've been searching everywhere, 근데 네가 없잖아. 문자 보낼게 making time even when I'm on the grind. Hold up, 나 아직 걸려. 처음 만났을 때부터 지금까지 떨려. All my days I be on the way. 걱정하지 마, my baby. Everything is gonna be okay, that's my lady. 사실대로만 할게, 나 요즘 고민만이 해. We on different continents, you know that my 고집세. Checking on my phone. Oh, you called again, 계속 놓친 phone call. You know I'm sick of playing games. You could hide your feelings, but you know that I've been seeking that. 그러지 말아줘, my baby, 그게 너무 싫은데. 나만 바라봐, want you only look at me how. You've been on my mind, drive me crazy, look at me now.
I lose it when it comes to you, and there's nothing I can do. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. 난 네가 필요해 right now. 너 기다리고 있잖아. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do.
Wait, K, 자꾸 네 생각해. 문자를 보낼 때 넌 계속 모르는 척해. I'm on my own, but I got 20 things that I gotta say. And I've been drowning in my thoughts daily, 네 생각에. I lose it when it comes to you. Something about you that I'm so into. 늦었지만 gotta tell the truth. 매일매일 생각나, look what you made me do. My apologies, 갑자기 마음이 가달라다. Hit lottery, come to me 지금 바로. We could speed on the streets with the Wario, the Lambo. 지금 머릿속에 네가 살아있는 게 a problem. And I've been thinking about it. I'm out of time with 99 problems, think about it. 만약에 우리 지금부터 시작이라면 you don't have to worry about a thing, I'll show you how it's done, yeah.
I lose it when it comes to you, and there's nothing I can do. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. 난 네가 필요해 right now. 너 기다리고 있잖아. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. 너 말곤 필요 없어. 내가 미워도 돌아서면 또 널 찾는다. 너 빼곤 필요 없어. 애태우지 말고 어서 내 손을 잡아줘. I lose it when it comes to you, and there's nothing I can do. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. 난 네가 필요해 right now. 너 기다리고 있잖아. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. I lose it when it comes to you, and there's nothing I can do. I want you to look at me now. Look what you made me do. 난 네가 필요해 right now.
So the tribes on the east side of the mountains are different from the tribes on this side, the west side, or the wet side. So the tribes on this side of the mountains are called Coast Salish tribes. That's about 70 different tribes. And by the way, some of those Coast Salish tribes extend into modern-day British Columbia. So the early contact between the European fur traders and the tribes was actually highly positive. But then the fur traders went back home, and they told their governments, there's a spot in North America, and no one's claimed it yet, and it's full of natural resources. You should grab it. Well, then countries like England started to send scouting expeditions to the northwest, and the famous one was led by George Vancouver. So Vancouver scouted this area as possibly part of England. He did the same thing as the fur traders. He went back home and told the government, there's an area in North America that no one's claimed for some reason. It's full of natural resources. Grab it. But you better hurry up because the United States will grab it first. So to keep the United States away from the Northwest, England tried to sneak in through the back door. They tried to sneak in through Canada, part of the British Commonwealth. Canada proposed to push their border as far south as Oregon to the Columbia River. So to make sure that didn't happen, the United States government got Americans to come out west to a land offer called the Donation Land Act. And by the way, that's what started the Oregon Trail experience. So the Donation Land Act stated, if you came out west and staked a claim, you could acquire 320 acres of land for absolutely free. So you come out west, stake your claim, register the claim with the government, and to make it official, you had to stay on the claim for 4 years. If you were still there after 4 years, you acquired 320 acres of free land, and you could double the claim as a married couple. Well, that means to make way for pioneers coming west, the United States government had to force Native Americans off of land that their ancestors had occupied for 12,000 years. Oh, by the way, did I mention, it wasn't the United States land to give away for free. Now, how would you feel as a Native American leader? You'd be mad. You'd be fighting mad. And the chiefs did fight back, except for Chief Seattle. He had a different approach. This was towards the end of his life. He was older, he was wiser. Now, when he was young, he was known as a fighter and a warrior. As he got older, he became more of a peacemaker, and he wouldn't compromise. So his thinking at that time was, we could fight back, we might win a battle or two, but in the long run, we'll lose. A much better approach, if we take care of the pioneers, we'll take care of my two tribes. Didn't work that way. Those two tribes, along with the other tribes, are eventually forced off their land. But because of his efforts on behalf of the pioneers, one of the city's 3 founding fathers, a doctor from Cleveland by the name of David Maynard, struck up a unique friendship with Chief Seattle and then named the city after his friend. Now, when they set the city up, they made a mistake, a common mistake. This mistake is made by every port town on this planet. If you're a port town, when you set your city up, you want to locate your shopping district as close to the waterfront as possible so you can easily offload ships and load up those shops. So that means early Seattle was built at sea level, on tide flats, or a beach. Does anyone see a problem with that? Yeah, it's called high tide. Tides come in every single day. Every day the tides that come in and flood the dirt streets downtown. It was indeed, it was dangerous, it was muddy. The pioneers put up with this until June 6, 1889, the day of the Great Seattle Fire. On that day, all the wood structures downtown burned to the ground in less than 12 hours, but no one died. The homes at that time were located on cliffs above the waterfront. Not a tragedy, a gift. This is a chance for the city to start over and correct that first mistake. When the city was done, the reconstruction, this is what they left in place, the underground. Now, before we go to our first spot, you're probably curious about the fire. Great Seattle Fire started only 4 blocks north in a woodworking shop. It was an overflowing glue pot in a woodworking shop that ignited the floor below. Well, it was a woodworking shop, so that means the floor below was wood shavings and rags soaked with turpentine. And every frontier town was combustible. Right next to the woodworking shop, a general store. At that time, general stores could carry ammunition, gunpowder, TNT, whiskey, and paint. That's the recipe for disaster or a Seahawks tailgate party. 12 hours later, all the wood structures downtown are gone, the homes on the cliffs are untouched, no one dies from the fire, time to start over. So the original cliffs were a block away behind me, today's 2nd Avenue. So they were 200-foot cliffs right above the waterfront. On top of the cliffs, as far as the eye could see, valuable trees over 1,000 years old, red cedar and Douglas fir. So the leader of the pioneers, Arthur Denny, thought, this is it. We stop here, stake our claims, and get rich off of those trees. Pretty clever pioneers. They came up with a system to get the cut trees from the cliffs to the sawmills on the waterfront below. This system had a nickname. You've heard it before, but your idea of what it means is different from the original meaning. I'll give you both variations. The original meaning of the term skid road. It's a logging term. They stripped the bark off of trees. They were called skids. They greased the skids with fish oil. Then they ran the greased skids along the hills, and they rolled cut trees down greased skids to the sawmills on the waterfront. And the sawmills are built quite a bit higher. They were built on pilings. When the tides rose, you could pull your ship right next to a sawmill, load it with saddle timber, exit the bay. Bay leads to the Sound. The Sound going north will eventually connect to the ocean. Now I have a question for you. When you hear the term skid row, what pops into your mind?
That's what we call the downtown east side in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's a part of every major American city, North American city, has a neighborhood. And so when you think of that neighborhood, what do you think of?
Down and out.
Down and out, crime, poverty, addiction. Every major city has a neighborhood like that. Well, the term was coined in Seattle. Early 1900s, a reporter from Chicago visited Pioneer Square. Now, I forgot to mention, Pioneer Square's always had a reputation. First of all, it's always been the homeless part of town. The missions are down here. Second of all, I'm going to tell a story about the 1897 Klondike Gold Rush. Seattle was not only a boom town for that gold rush, but also an adult entertainment district for miners coming back. It's always been rough around the edges. This reporter looked around. He could see that. Then he heard about the Skid Road logging legend. So he did a twist on Skid Road, Skid Row, meaning a part of town where people are in a bad way around the skids. So the logging term is road. The connotation of a bad part of town is row, and they both came from Seattle. Isn't it interesting what Seattle's proud of? If it floods twice a day during high tide before the fire, what do you address after the fire? You get away from the tide flats to the waterfront. So they started with seawalls, not one but 7. First one's on the waterfront, 6 more as a backup. The last of the 7 seawalls is a block behind me, and they work. The 7 seawalls push the water out to make this dry. The next part of the project, elevate Pioneer Square above sea level with fill. It's a lot of fill, but don't worry, they had a great resource. If you think about it, the cliffs. They were too high to begin with. The fill that elevates the tide flats came from the cliffs. Now, they didn't use dynamite to knock down those cliffs. Instead, they used a gold mining technique. It's called hydraulic sluicing. They pump water from Elliott Bay through steam-powered, high-pressure hoses. They faced the hoses to the side of the cliffs, slowly eroded the cliff sides, then they guided the fill from the cliffs to the tide flats through narrow boxes. They're called sluice boxes. Now, a lot of people ask, why didn't they use dynamite to knock down the cliffs? Well, with dynamite, you don't control the fill. It goes all over the place. With sluice boxes, you can guide the fill to the exact spot you wanted to go to, which in this case would be the tide flats. So they tried very hard to keep the fill somewhat intact or in place. So this is where they got clever again. After the fire, they made the new streets out of stone walls. For instance, now disregard all that concrete. You see that gap in concrete? That stone wall is half a cherry street. There's another stone wall like it on the other side of the street. They fed the sluice boxes between the stone walls to raise the new streets. The new streets after the fire could be 20 to possibly 30 feet higher, and the walls keep the fill intact or in place, so they're called retaining walls. The city showed the plan to the merchants, and the merchants said, this looks great, except for the timeline, 10 years. And that's when the merchants informed the city, we're not going to wait 10 years. We're not going to wait 10 days. We need to get back to business, so the buildings go up first. But the merchants liked the city's plan so much they had a compromise. The merchants told the city, start your project, move forward, go quickly. In the meantime, we put our buildings back up at this level so we can make money again, but we know when you complete the project and you go one level above this, we'll have to abandon the first floor of this building, and we're okay with that because we'll have a second entrance ready to go just above. So the merchants are willing to sacrifice the entire first floor of the buildings just to get back to business. Now I can really drive this point home. This is my favorite part of the tour. We're about to walk into a time machine. This is one of the first buildings to go up after the fire. It's from 1891. It's called the Schwerman Building. In our time machine, we just left the inside of the building, which at that time was a shoemaker's shop. And that's why we have lost souls. You know, that joke kills in the afternoon. All right, we're back at our time machine. We just left the shop. Now we're outside the building. We're standing on a wood sidewalk. We're looking up, not at arches. We're looking at, let's say, partly cloudy skies. But we're not looking at the waterfront because that wall behind you is half of First Avenue and it's already up. So let's do this in order. Seawalls have to go on first to stop the flooding, followed by the buildings, get back to business. Then the city elevates Pioneer Square with fill. Fill came from the cliffs, and now it's between stone walls, which are elevated streets. Hey, we're almost done. But like every civic project in human history, they ran out of money to finish. They didn't have enough money for new sidewalks. So picture this. The original wood sidewalks in the storefronts are down here, but now the streets can be 20 to 30 feet above the sidewalks. But don't worry, this town takes care of its people. So for shopping, the city provided ladders at the corners of the streets. This is how you shopped. If you wanted to shop from the street above to the sidewalk below, walk to the corner and climb downstairs over a ladder. Now, once you were down here, you were fine. You could still shop on the sidewalk in front of the shoemaker's shop. But let's say you wanted to shop across the street. You're not going through that wall. It's back to the corner, up a ladder, across the street, back down, another ladder. Let's review the many different ways you could die from this. You could fall off the street. You could fall off a ladder. You could be down here shopping, and another person, a barrel from a truck or a horse could fall on top of you. People started to die. Now, I have a theory. My theory is the city must have had some sort of a threshold. When enough people die, we'll fix this. So I think the magic number was 24. But even then, the city didn't have a lot of money to fix this. This had to be quick, this had to be cheap, but they did it. So let's set this up. Buildings on my right, streets my left, but no arches above. Not yet. So we've got partly cloudy skies or open air. There's a gap between the streets and the buildings. To fill the gap, they made the sidewalks above you into bridges. So the sidewalks above bridge the gap from the streets to the buildings. Now the construction for the sidewalks is actually fairly simple. Look above. The connector, they ran iron I-beams 1.5 feet into the side of the streets and the buildings to connect. Now here's the key to the story. Hate to mention this, but it's part of Northwest. This is an earthquake zone. These tunnels are withstood for earthquakes and not collapse. The reason is right above you. Look at those arches. They're not Roman. They're not keystone. They're called barrel vaulted arches, and they're phenomenal. With load-bearing beams, the weight will concentrate on one spot on the beam. With barrel vaulted arches, the weight radiates throughout the entire length of the beam and it can hold 4 times its weight. They covered these arches, those became the sidewalks, and they work. They now bridge the gap from the streets to the buildings. But why tunnels? Well, they're not supposed to be here. The original plan was to fill this in, but every year the city pushed back the project. Until one year they woke up and realized, why would we fill this in? We own these tunnels. Wouldn't this be a great spot to lay pipes and utilities? That's what the tunnels are used for today. They're owned by the city. For the most part, they use the system to lay utilities. So now I can tell you the truth. We're not underground. We just use that word to lure you into our tour. The ground is below us, and that's why we call this tour Beneath the Streets.
So Megan, our train buddy Jeff, and I decided to go with the Beneath the Streets Seattle Underground Tour. They also offer a red light district tour on the weekends if you're over 18, and in the summertime a queer history of Seattle tour. We had a great time and toured all through the Pioneer Square district in downtown Seattle, and even had a funny moment where a rolling suitcase went overhead vibrating the room right after the guide reminded us that we were in fact in an earthquake zone, and everyone's heart kind of caught in their throat for a split second.